About Brian Wilson. I love Brian. He's insane. He's a madman. Brian's not just different, he's from another dimension entirely. Probably one of the most fascinating humans I've ever watched play the game of baseball. Brian Wilson has got to be one of, if not the weirdest and most interesting players in MLB history. And in this video, we're going to be looking at what makes him such a strange and magnificent specimen. And out of anyone on this channel, I'm probably the most qualified to talk about this guy since I'm a bit of a weirdo myself. I know what it's like to march to the beat of your own drum. But this guy, he's not marching to his own drum. He's playing a completely different instrument that might not even exist on this planet. Before we dive into the bizarre world of Brian Wilson, I should warn you, this video isn't your standard baseball breakdown. We're not here to analyze his cutter or his save percentage. This is a journey into the mind of baseball's most eccentric personality, a guy who once showed up to the ESPYs in a spandex bodysuit, a three-time All-Star who convinced teammates he was a certified sea captain, a closer who transformed the ninth inning into performance art. So grab your fake beard, adjust your cap to a ridiculous angle, and prepare to enter the strange universe of the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Wilson. Now, I should probably give you a quick rundown of Wilson's career so we're all on the same page. Brian Wilson spent most of his MLB career as the closer for the San Francisco Giants from 2006 to 2012, before brief stints with the Dodgers and later attempting comebacks. He was a three-time All-Star, led the National League in saves in 2010 with 48, and was the closer when the Giants won the World Series that same year. The man threw heat, a mid-90s fastball, and a nasty cutter that made batters look silly. His career numbers: 407 appearances, 172 saves, and a respectable 3.30 ERA. But we're not here to talk about his pitching stats. We're here because this man once said, and I quote, "I'm not afraid of the mess. I am the mess," in a completely serious post-game interview. And honestly, that statement perfectly encapsulates everything we're about to discuss. Quirk 1. The beard. Let's start with the most obvious thing about Brian Wilson, the beard. But this wasn't just any beard. This was a statement, a lifestyle, a separate entity that seemed to have its own zip code. Wilson started growing it during the Giants' 2010 playoff run, and it quickly became his trademark. The phrase, "Fear the beard," became a rallying cry for Giants fans. They sold fake beards at the stadium. People wore "Fear the Beard" t-shirts. It was a cultural phenomenon. But here's where it gets weird. Wilson insists the beard is not dyed. Let me repeat that. This man wants us to believe that his jet black beard, which contrasts dramatically with his much lighter hair, is 100% natural. In a 2010 interview, when asked if he dyes his beard, Wilson simply replied, "No, it's just dark. It's the mystique of my beard. You cannot dye a real man's beard." This is like telling people your neon pink mohawk is your natural hair color, but he never ever broke character on this, not once. When pressed about it by Jim Rome in another interview, Wilson elaborated with this gem: "I'm not willing to admit that. To say I put a foreign substance on my body that could potentially change the color would be blasphemous." Like he's talking about a sacred religious text and not facial hair. There are even rumors that he used Just for Men hair dye so regularly that the company tried to sign him as a spokesperson, which he allegedly turned down to maintain the authenticity of his beard narrative. The beard wasn't just for show, though. It became part of his identity as a pitcher. Wilson claimed it gave him magical powers and infinite wisdom. He once told a reporter, "The beard is not just on my face, the beard is inside me." I'm not sure what that means physiologically, but it sounds profound. And unlike most baseball superstitions or gimmicks that fade away, Wilson committed to the beard for years. Even after his playing career, he kept it. It wasn't a phase, it was a lifestyle choice. The beard even has its own Twitter account with thousands of followers. Not Brian Wilson, just his beard. That's fame. Quirk 2, the machine. If you thought a potentially dyed beard was weird, buckle up because we're about to meet the machine. In 2010, Wilson appeared on a talk show with his Giants teammate Sergio Romo. During the interview, he shared a bizarre story about Wilson's alter ego, a character he called the Machine. According to Wilson, he would occasionally dress up in a full-body leather harness and mask, yes, you heard that right, and walk around his house when teammates were over. He would speak in a Russian accent and call himself the Machine. The story might have seemed like just another weird Brian Wilson tale, except for what happened next. In a segment for the Showtime series The Franchise, cameras followed reporter Chris Rose as he visited Wilson's house. During the interview, a mysterious figure walked through the background wearing nothing but a leather harness and mask. Rose, clearly startled, asked Wilson who that was. Wilson, without missing a beat, replied, "That's the Machine." When asked what the Machine does, Wilson, completely deadpan, said, "The Machine parties." This wasn't a one-time gag. The Machine made multiple appearances over the years. Wilson brought him to ESPN interviews. He referenced him in post-game press conferences. The Machine became almost as famous as the Beard. What makes this so bizarre isn't just that Wilson created an alter ego. Athletes have done that before. What's weird is the commitment to the bit, the elaborate costume, the backstory, the Russian accent, the random appearances in professional settings. Wilson claimed he got the idea from a real person he met in Russia who called himself the Machine. Whether this is true or another part of the Wilson mythology remains unclear. Either way, imagine being a teammate and seeing your team's closer walking around in full leather bondage gear, speaking in a Russian accent in the middle of a pennant race, and everyone just accepting it as, "Oh, that's just Brian being Brian." That's commitment to weirdness on a level few athletes have ever achieved. Quirk 3. Interview antics. Brian Wilson's interviews deserve their own category of weird. Most athletes give boring, cliche responses. Not Wilson. Every interview was performance art. Let's start with his outfit choices. Wilson once showed up to an ESPN interview wearing a full sea captain's uniform, hat, jacket, the work, and insisted on being addressed as captain throughout the interview. When asked why, Wilson explained, "I'm a certified sea captain. I can legally marry people at sea. I can also navigate in international waters." He was not, in fact, a certified sea captain. In another legendary appearance on George Lopez's show, Wilson showed up in skin-tight spandex, claiming it was his ninja outfit. He proceeded to demonstrate ninja moves on national television. During that same interview, when asked about his preparation routine, Wilson went on a 2-minute tangent about fighting off imaginary ninjas in the bullpen before entering game. You've got to be ready for anything. Ninjas could attack at any moment. Most people don't know this, but AT&T Park has the highest concentration of ninjas outside of Japan. I fought off as many as 7 before a save opportunity. The thing about Wilson's interviews is that he delivered everything with such conviction that you'd start questioning your own reality. Was he joking? Was he serious? Did he actually believe there were ninjas at the ballpark? In a post-game interview after closing out the 2010 NLCS, reporter Chris Rose asked Wilson about his nerves during the 9th inning. Instead of a standard answer, Wilson launched into, "I was thinking about shark, not because I was nervous. I just think sharks are cool. Did you know they never sleep? Just like closers, we're basically the sharks of baseball." Even standard baseball questions received non-standard answers. When asked about his approach to facing tough hitters, Wilson once explained, "I imagine the batter is a sandwich, and I'm really hungry. I don't negotiate with a sandwich. You eat it." During the 2010 World Series parade, Wilson gave perhaps his most famous interview, telling a reporter, "The beard isn't going anywhere. I've been asked if I'm going to shave it. That's a clown question, bro. Does that answer your question? Let me rephrase that. The beard is not hot. It's beyond hot. It's like globally hot. It's like Halle Berry hot." His ESPN SportsCenter commercial might be the perfect encapsulation of his interview style. In it, Wilson is seen having a serious conversation with his beard in a mirror, discussing game strategy. When an ESPN employee walks in on the scene, Wilson doesn't miss a beat, explaining, "Don't mind us, we're just talking shop." The truly remarkable thing is that throughout all of this weirdness, Wilson never broke character. Not once. There was never a wink to the camera, never an admission that it was all an act. As far as Brian Wilson was concerned, everything he said was completely normal and rational. Baseball players are known for their superstitions, but Brian Wilson took this to an entirely different dimension with routines so specific and bizarre they deserve their own category. Let's start with his entrance. While many closers have signature entrances, Mariano Rivera with Enter Sandman, Trevor Hoffman with Hell's Bells, Wilson entered to Jump Around by House of Pain while performing an elaborate cross-armed gesture that looks like something between a martial arts move and directing airport traffic. But that was just the beginning. His pre-pitch routine was a masterpiece of weirdness. Before each pitch, Wilson would adjust his cap exactly 3 times, touch the back of his head, cross himself, look at a specific spot in the outfield, mutter to himself, often appearing to argue with himself, tug at his jersey in the exact same spot, only then would he throw the pitch. When asked about this elaborate routine, Wilson explained, "It's not superstition, it's a systematic approach to mental dominance. Each movement represents a different continent. I'm basically acknowledging the entire world before each pitch. It's respectful." Continents? What? Then there was his uniform. Wilson wore the exact same cap for entire seasons, refusing to replace it even if it became discolored and sweat-stained. He claimed the hat contained memories and that each stain represented a conquered enemy. According to teammates, Wilson had specific rules about his locker. No one could touch it. Everything had to be arranged in a precise order. His cleats needed to point toward the door. His glove had to face a specific direction. Former teammate Sergio Romo once revealed that Wilson would arrive at the stadium at exactly the same time before each game. Not approximately the same time, but precisely to the minute. If he was running early, he would wait in his car until the exact right moment. Wilson also reportedly played the same video game, Modern Warfare, before every single appearance, claiming it calibrated his brain for battle. Perhaps most bizarrely, Wilson had a lucky pair of orange spandex underwear that he wore for every save opportunity during the 2010 championship season. According to teammates, these were never washed, ever, for an entire season. When the underwear eventually developed holes, Wilson didn't replace them. He had them professionally repaired by a tailor who, I can only imagine, was very confused by the request. Giants manager Bruce Bochy once said of Wilson's routines, "You learn not to ask questions. As long as he's getting outs, he could do rain dances in the bullpen for all I care." Quirk 5. Fashion choices. Brian Wilson's fashion sense deserves special recognition because it was consistently outrageous in a sport where most players wear the same branded athleisure as everyone else. The pinnacle of Wilson's fashion moments came at the 2011 ESPY Awards, where he showed up on the red carpet wearing a spandex tuxedo jumpsuit with a walking cane. Not as a joke, as his actual formal attire for a televised award ceremony. When asked about his outfit choice, Wilson deadpanned, "This is formal. This is a formal tuxedo, made by Nike. It's spandex. It's a onesie." The cane, which he clearly didn't need for walking, was apparently for the hater. But the SB outfit wasn't a one-off. Wilson approached everyday fashion with the same commitment to weirdness. He frequently wore a mohawk hairstyle combined with his beard, creating a look that can only be described as apocalyptic chic. For post-game interviews, while most players opt for a designer suit or casual wear, Wilson would show up in a wetsuit top with dress pants, what appeared to be a pirate outfit complete with an eye patch, a kilt with combat boots, a full tracksuit made of some kind of reflective material that looked like it was designed for deep space exploration. On The Tonight Show, he appeared wearing a sailor hat and what he described as pants for the future. When Jay Leno asked about his fashion inspiration, Wilson replied, "I dress according to my mood. Today I'm feeling very nautical with a touch of time travel." What makes Wilson's fashion choices especially interesting is that they weren't just attention-seeking, though they certainly got attention. He seemed to genuinely believe his outfits made perfect sense and was often confused when interviewers questioned his choices. After a game in 2011, a reporter asked Wilson why he was wearing what appeared to be a wrestling championship belt. Wilson, looking genuinely perplexed, responded, "This isn't a belt, it's an upper waist enhancer. It improves blood flow to my pitching arm. Science." The belt had World Champion written on it in giant letters. Even in retirement, Wilson has maintained his unique style. Recent sightings show him with the beard intact, often wearing outfits that would make even the most avant-garde fashion designers raise an eyebrow. Post-baseball adventures. Most MLB players follow predictable paths after retirement, coaching, broadcasting, or quietly enjoying their million. Not Brian Wilson. After his final MLB appearance in 2014, Wilson seemingly disappeared from the baseball world. Rumors circulated. Had he joined a monastery, become a professional surfer, gone to live in the wilderness? The truth, when it emerged, was appropriately weird. In 2017, Wilson announced he was training for a comeback, not as a pitcher, but as a knuckleball pitcher, a completely different skill that typically takes years to master. When asked why he would attempt such a transition, Wilson explained, "The knuckleball is the beard of pitches. It doesn't follow normal rules. It exists in its own reality." The comeback never materialized in MLB, but Wilson hasn't exactly led a conventional post-baseball life. He appeared on a season season of the reality show The Amazing Race in 2018, where he and his father competed together. In one memorable episode, Wilson refused to take a taxi like the other contestants, instead choosing to travel by pogo stick, claiming it was more efficient in terms of spiritual energy consumption. The Wilson team was eliminated after Brian spent 3 hours trying to communicate with a monkey that he claimed was giving him the secret coordinates to the next checkpoint. More recently, Wilson has been spotted at various events sporting the same enormous beard, though he now claims it contains cosmic wisdom accumulated during his baseball career. In a rare 2022 interview, Wilson revealed he now spends most of his time as a professional thought collector who documents ideas that haven't been thought of yet. When pressed on what exactly that means, Wilson explained, "Most people think thoughts that have already been thought before. I'm interested in the thoughts that exist in the space between existing thoughts, the undiscovered country of cognition." He also mentioned that he still maintains his connection to the Machine, who apparently now works as Wilson's spiritual consultant. There are unconfirmed reports that Wilson has purchased land in Montana where he's building what he described as a beard sanctuary for people who want to achieve facial hair enlightenment. Whether this is actually happening or just another chapter in the Brian Wilson mythology is anyone's guess. With Wilson, the line between reality and performance art has always been gloriously blurred. Brian Wilson is, without a doubt, one of the strangest players ever to step on a baseball diamond. From the possibly dyed beard to the Machine, from the bizarre interviews to the fashion choices that defy explanation, Wilson exists in his own unique reality. But here's the thing, in a sport often criticized for its lack of personality, Wilson was unabashedly, unapologetically himself. In an era where athletes are media trained to the point of robotic answers, Wilson gave us genuine weirdness. And he backed it up on the field. That's the key part. The 2010 World Series, the All-Star appearances, the dominance as a closer. Wilson wasn't just a sideshow, he was legitimately great at baseball. In many ways, Wilson was ahead of his time. Today's MLB is increasingly embracing personality, with players showing more individuality than ever before. Wilson was doing this a decade ago when baseball was still very much stuck in its conservative traditions. There's something admirable about someone who is so completely committed to being exactly who they are, even when it's weird, even when people don't understand it. As Wilson himself once put it, "I'm just being me. If that's weird to you, that's more of a you problem." In a world where so many of us worry about fitting in, maybe we could all use a little more Brian Wilson energy, the courage to grow a metaphorical beard, to embrace our inner machine, to wear a spandex tuxedo if that's what feels right. Baseball misses Brian Wilson. I miss Brian Wilson. The game is a little less colorful, a little less weird without him. Thank you all so much for watching this deep dive into the weird world of Brian Wilson. I know this was a little bit different from our usual content, but sometimes you've just got to let the beard down and have some fun. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let us know in the comments what you liked most about Brian Wilson during his playing day. And if there are other wonderfully weird baseball players you'd like us to cover in the future, put the names in the comments too. And remember, in the immortal words of Brian Wilson, fear the beard, whatever that means.